Welcome back. We are now joined by North Central Sports Information Director, Clark Teuscher. Clark, thanks for stopping by.
It's good to be here.
So it's the weekend we've all been waiting for. The men's track and field team is heading down to the Outdoor Nationals in California.
Yeah, they've got 13 entries in 8 events. Certainly enough to score enough points that it would take to win the championship most years. A lot of competition this year. Several of the Wisconsin state schools are in the hunt, as well as McMurray University out of Texas, which is in their last year before transitioning to Division II. So it'll be a full weekend and a lot of drama on Saturday.
And McMurray's been ranked towards the top all year, and the Cardinals have been right there with them, but basically in fourth most of the outdoor season. How much does that come into play? Are the Cardinals, really ready for a national championship, or is that those rankings indicative of what's going to happen?
I think it depends on how each team prepares mentally to go into this championship. As we were talking about, it's a different animal this year in terms of the location,
right.
And a lot more teams are having to fly and travel extended amount of distance than normally when it's held in the Midwest or on the East Coast. So we'll see how that level of extended travel affects a lot of teams. North Central has a history of stepping up and performing well at a national championship events, certainly in the last few years. So it's going to come down to who's able to perform business as usual once the events start this weekend.
And as you mentioned, 14 Cardinals making the trip, really highlighted by the 5 pole vaulters that went 1 through 5 in the CCIW championships, and they're all heading down. Hopefully they can get some points on the board in that event early on.
Well, 4 of them are ranked in the top 6 nationally. And you have 2 national champions in the fold as well, in addition to two 4-time All-Americans in John Wood and Thomas Stacy. So a lot of experience, a lot of championship experience. And really only one other team in the entire field has 5 in any single event. And I don't think they have them ranked as highly as North Central has in the pole vault. So the capacity to score a lot of points and give themselves a huge advantage is certainly there.
And the real scary thing is most of those guys will be back next year, not just in the pole vault, but throughout all the events. A number of these Cardinals are juniors, sophomores, and freshmen.
The junior class was really a bumper crop of recruits for this coaching staff, and they're certainly reaping the benefits of that now. Certainly, John Wood, John Howard, these guys being effective leaders as seniors, bringing it in, to wrap up their career here. But certainly that junior class has been a big part of the success they've been able to have the last 3 years.
And a well-deserved award for the assistant pole vault, or the pole vault coach, as Tim Winder's named the assistant coach in the Midwest for the year.
And that makes him a candidate for the National Assistant Coach of the Year award, which will be announced this weekend. Certainly a well-deserved award, in both the men's and the women's pole vault. He's had national caliber athletes year in and year out that he's been able to kind of mentor and help them improve greatly during their time at North Central. So definitely a well-deserved award, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him win the national award as well.
Yeah, he's coached 10 national champions. That's very impressive. And another returning national championship team is the 4x4. They're hoping to make some noise, as they've done so in the indoor and outdoor season the past few years.
It's a bit of a different makeup, certainly from the indoor season, since Dan Benton is no longer competing. John Howard takes his place in the anchor leg there. The rest of the team is intact. They've got the fastest qualifying time going into the weekend, so that's the last event of the meet. So there's going to be, I'm sure, some pressure on those guys to perform to help the team finish the way they want to, and I think they're looking forward to that.
And John Howard will also return. He's individually ranked in the 400, as well as Deontay Hackler. What are their chances of possibly getting on the podium in that event?
Well, John's one of the top-ranked guys. His qualifying time was recorded in the prelims of the conference championships a couple of weeks ago, and certainly the prelims are a time where you really have to post a good time to ensure that you're in the final. It kind of turns it backwards a little bit once you get into a big meet like this, where the prelims almost become a bigger deal than the finals, to make sure you can get in there and get some points.
Right.
So certainly a guy like that who can step up early in the weekend and post a top time is going to do pretty well.
And some other athletes on the track in the distance events, Dan Curley has made it in the 10,000 and the 5,000, and John Crane will join him in the 5,000. What are Dan and John's chances of hopefully getting some points?
Well, Dan kind of came out of nowhere last spring and finished 5th in the 10K to become an All-American, and that turned out to be a huge boost in a meet that was really close, right down to the wire. So certainly that experience is going to serve him well as he competes in 2 events this weekend instead of just 1. John Crane is in his first national championship on the track, but he was in the cross-country nationals last fall. Posted a really solid time a couple of weeks ago at the Gregory Invitational, Dr. Keeler Invitational, excuse me. And he's a guy who's kind of in the middle of the pack right now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him step up against some guys that are going to be running 2 or 3 events at the championships and really push those guys and see if he can get an All-American certificate as well.
And back to the field events, Zach Hirschbank, he's ranked in the top 10 in the high jump, and he's already beaten some guys that are above him.
Zach's jumped very consistently and very well over the last few weeks. He jumped a personal best a couple of weeks ago, 6'10" and a quarter. The national leaders are at 6'11" right now. There's 5 or 6 guys up at that top level, just within a couple of centimeters of each other. So really, it's anybody's guess as to what order those guys are going to finish in. But certainly, getting good jumps early is going to be a big part of that. To when you get to the tiebreakers, make sure that you come out on top of those. And Zach could really be an important part of another national championship here if he's able to perform.
And he's had the experience. He's been there in the past. How much do you think that'll help some of these athletes that have made it to a national championship meet before?
Well, guys like Zach and John Wood and Thomas Stacy and a lot of these guys have been to multiple national championships. This will be the 8th consecutive national championship meet for John Wood, which is certainly an amazing performance to be able that consistent over a whole 4-year career and be that at that level. So certainly this isn't anything new for a lot of these guys. We've only got a couple of guys who haven't competed in a national meet before making the trip. So the fact that they've been there and been through, it's more of a spectacle of a meet than most of these guys have ever seen before. So being prepared for that aspect of it probably is just as important as being prepared for the competition that they're going to see.
Well, we hope all the preparation pays off for the Cardinals this weekend. Clark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The men's and women's track and field teams will look to bring home some hardware this weekend, and you can stay up to date on how they are doing out west at northcentralcardinals.com. I'm Marc Dahlquist. See you here next week on the Cardinal Report.